Hey, I'm Bob at ILikeToMakeStuff. Today I'm gonna make a custom light fixture. We've been in this house for 8 years, and the entire time we've had this awful, cheap light fixture right outside my shop door. Today we're gonna make a replacement, but there's a couple of constraints. One, it can't shine light into your eyes when you're coming down the stairs, and it can't be too tall because it has to be able to clear the door when you open it. All right, let's do it. To start this build, we're gonna use a very big piece of bamboo veneer, and this is left over from when I did my longboard video. I'll have that link down in the description if you wanna check it out. But this is really thin stuff, and it's about 46 inches long, so I'm just gonna use this length and start building the shade. This stuff is really thin and really flexible, but I decided to soak it in the bathtub for about 15 minutes just to make sure that it would bend without cracking. I forgot to cut it to width first, but I still did it afterwards with a straight edge and a utility knife. This stuff is so thin, it cuts very easily. Once I had it cut down, I added some glue to one end and then just rolled it up into a roll. I used some clamps to hold it in this position, but because it was so wet and so thin, it was starting to warp a little bit where the two pieces met. So instead, I got a couple of scraps, held them over the joint just to make even clamping pressure throughout. I added clamps all the way and let it dry overnight. Once this dried, I took the clamps off and it held this position perfectly. Now, one problem here, and I'll talk about it later, is that it's not a perfect circle, but it's not really a big deal. I didn't get the pieces perfectly lined up, so I just used a sanding block to even them out. My first idea was to make a cross that went on the inside of this shade to hold it in its shape. I started out by cutting 2 pieces of 2x4 down, and I cut them both to the same length. Before adding them, I sprayed the inside of the shade white. This helps make it more opaque, but also bounces light around on the inside of the shade, and it's just another design element. I sprayed one of these cross pieces white as well. Using a compass, I drew a 5-inch circle on a piece of maple. This is going to be the mounting plate that goes on the ceiling. I just cut this out on the bandsaw and then cleaned it up on the disc sander. Using the same center point, I drew a 1-inch circle in the middle and then a larger one closer to the edge. These just gave me a point of reference so I could drill away a whole lot of material using a Forstner bit. I used the depth stop on my drill press to make sure I didn't go all the way through the material. This cavity is really just here to give me a place to hide extra wires. I rounded over the bottom of this piece on a router table. Then I went back and drilled out the center all the way through. I made 2 more marks evenly spaced on each side of the center hole and then drilled those through as well. Then I coated the ceiling mount and the outside of the shade with several coats of spray lacquer. This stuff dries really quickly and adds a nice finish. From the center point of the crossbar, I measured out the same distance as I did from the mounting plate on the ceiling and drilled 2 holes. And to connect these, I just found a plastic tube in my shop, cut it in half, and spray painted them white. And to assemble the actual light, I just bought a simple lamp kit. These come with the lighting base, some wire, some nuts and bolts to put everything together. All you do is strip the wires and put them onto the 2 screws on the back of the lamp base, and then you just have to mount it to whatever you're making into a light. In this case, I fed the lamp nipple through my center support and then added washers and nuts on both sides to hold it in place. The lamp base just screws on and you're good to go. I pushed the 2 plastic tubes that I'd cut earlier into the holes of this crosspiece and then fed the wire from the lamp up through one of them. The other end of this went through the ceiling mount, and then I just pushed everything together. These were tight enough that a pressure fit held them in place just fine. I added some CA glue to the ends of this cross piece and held it on the inside of the shade for just a couple of minutes while it dried. Then it was done, and it actually works as a lamp too. Then it was time to mount it on the ceiling. First thing is always cut the power before you remove any kind of a light. I've replaced several light fixtures over the years, so this is not new to me, but if it's something you're not comfortable with, you might want to check out the sponsor for today, DIYZ. DIYZ is a mobile app to help you tackle all of your DIY projects. It's full of step-by-step instructions, tool suggestions, and if you need to, you can even have a live video chat with a pro advisor. It's really cool because it's a combination of both projects like building a fire pit and lots of home improvement stuff like replacing or fixing things around your house. You can get the app for free on the Apple App Store or on Google Play. It's a great resource to have in your pocket. So be sure to go check out DIYZ. The installation was really easy. It was just connecting the new wires to the old wires and then screwing it onto the mount on the ceiling. I added a bulb and tried it out. I also had to make sure, just to be safe, that it actually cleared the door, and it did. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this thing turned out, but there is one thing that I would definitely do different next time. I would find a big cylinder to form this thing around like a bucket. That way when the veneer dries, it dries into a perfect circle. This one's a little bit lopsided. You don't really notice it unless you're looking straight up into it, so it's not a huge deal, but next time I would definitely do that part differently. I hope you like this project. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. I've got lots of other videos that you might be interested in, so be sure to check those out and don't forget to subscribe. That's it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.